go now to our legal panel. Trial attorney Mercedes Colwin is here, and trial attorney and legal analyst Misty Marris is as well. Always lovely to have both of you. All right, let's talk about this first thing. She is maintaining that she's the victim of sabotage. Is there any evidence to back that up?
Not that we've not seen anything on the record about sabotage. We do know that Gutierrez Reed actually sued the company that provided the rounds. And she did that right after she got charged with these criminal charges. She went and sued. She goes, because that company provided the rounds, the dummy rounds and the live rounds. So they're negligent, I'm not.
Right. When you look at a bullet, can you tell if it's a dummy or a live bullet? I'm sorry, I'm not smart on gun matters.
Yeah, an armorer should be able to, by the feel and the look. There's actually a small hole in the bullet, which allows you to see whether or not there's pellets inside. So that's one of the issues that the prosecution is arguing.
Yeah, how did that get there on the set?
How did they get there? How did they get in the gun? But not only that, how many times did Hannah Gutierrez Reed have the opportunity to remove them? Because she should be the one who knows the difference between the two. So there was ample opportunities to take action, get these off the set, and she failed to do so.
There's text messages too, Misty, exactly to that point, where Gutierrez Reed is texting about these live rounds being mixed up with the dummy rounds.
What is she saying?
She's basically saying, oh my gosh, there are live rounds here. So she's acknowledging these text messages that they're on the set. Well, if you know that, then you have to take extra precautions to make sure those live rounds don't end up on these prop guns.
What about the fact that I mean, I'm very struck by the fact that she is a young woman. She was very new in her career as an armorer. She was asked to, you're supposed to be an armorer. There's supposed to be a person in charge of props. She was forced to do 2 jobs and apparently had complained repeatedly that it was too much for her, that she felt it was unsafe. And the producers, to save money, were forcing her to do a 2nd job. I mean, it does feel, there is a question. Why is she, the young, inexperienced woman, being charged with a crime, and the movie producers who were forcing her to do maybe too much and hired somebody who maybe didn't have enough experience to be in charge of all these guns, why aren't they in the courtroom?
Well, so she's really the low-hanging fruit here. And not to say we're going to learn what the case is when the prosecution presents it, but by virtue of her role as the armorer, she's the one responsible for the safety, maintenance, and responsible for the storage of the gun. So this is the easiest case for the prosecution. And Elizabeth, to your point, there are a lot of prosecution deals out there that aren't as public as David Hall's, who has pled guilty.
David Hall is.
So he was the assistant producer. And so he actually pled guilty to a lesser charge in exchange for his testimony, where he'll explain what the roles and responsibilities are.
His testimony against Hannah Gutierrez Reed?
Correct.
What about Alec Baldwin?
He's also testifying in that trial. That prosecution agreement means that he will testify on the behest of the prosecutors.
Okay, so Mercedes, will this trial be a harbinger of what is going to happen next month when Alec Baldwin's trial begins?
Oh, there's no doubt. Alec Baldwin's, their team's looking very closely at this. They're going to hear the theories, the evidence that's going to come forward. And you know Gutierrez Reed is going to say, I wasn't handling the gun. I wasn't the one who pulled the trigger. I wasn't the one who actually killed Hutchings. But here I am, to exactly to your point, Elizabeth. She has too many jobs, too inexperienced to have that type of responsibility on her. There's no question that the defense is going to say that to the jury. They're going to say there was too many things that were put on her shoulders, not enough oversight, not enough help, and look at all the complaining she did. And by the way, just hours before Hutchings was killed, 14 crew members walked off because they felt the same way, that it was unsafe.
Yeah.
So if you have all that evidence, and we know from looking at the notes from the grand jury that 2 of those crew members testified during the grand jury about how unsafe the set was. Those 2 will absolutely testify about that for the defense.
What about these text messages about drug use and alcohol use by Hannah Gutierrez Reed?
Well, this is what's interesting. So the prosecutor's theory is that she was impaired on the set, that she was hung over, that she wasn't in the right state of mind to be doing her job. But there was no drug testing or sobriety testing done the day of the shooting. And so they're relying on text messages which are from the night before and before this happened, which say, do you want to get certain drugs. Oh, I'm going to go out and get high.
We're talking about cocaine, marijuana.
And heavy drinking.
Okay.
And so the theory is that she was impaired on set. And keep in mind, remember, we have this tampering charge. The tampering charge relates to her allegedly taking a bag of cocaine and giving it to a friend. So that would speak to a guilty mind. That was never tested, though, that bag.
Yeah, well,
so there's
a guilty mind if I don't want to get arrested for having cocaine on me.
Right. But it was never tested, so I think the defense will go in that. And the defense did have a victory. The report from the state agency relating to safety inspection of that set, that report's going to come in.
By the way, you can be impaired through exhaustion, too.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to just be because you're, under the influence or hungover. People are impaired by sleep deprivation.
Yes.
And all accounts that crew members on this set were complaining long and loud about the fact that they had to work long hours and then drive an hour, 2 hours to a motel, a cheap motel that they were putting them up in. So it's going to be a fascinating trial.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, such a sad case. All right.
So true.
Misty Mercedes, great to have you. Thank you so much.
Great to be on.
All right, come